Hello, I'm Nina Cook and welcome to Entrepreneurs in a Game podcast, where you'll feel inspired learning how successful business owners have overcome their inner blocks and created a winning inner game so they can grow a business that gives them money and time freedom. If this is your first time listening, then thanks for joining us. The Entrepreneurs in a Game podcast is produced every week for your enjoyment, and show notes are found at ninacook.co.uk. Now let's get into today's show.
Hi, it's Nina Cook here, and thank you so much for joining me today on the Entrepreneurs in a Game podcast. Today, I'm really excited to have a tremendous guest with me today. Amanda Watts is joining us for what I know will be an incredible 30 hours of wonderful content about mindset. So Amanda is passionate about business and marketing. She's been in marketing for over 24 years. And since launching her own business in 2009, Amanda's developed and honed systems and strategies that catapult businesses to enormous success. She's a business consultant, trainer and speaker, and she has a following of over 50,000 people and is also an Amazon best-selling author. Her work has led her to becoming a mentor for Richard Branson's Virgin Startup program, and she speaks regularly on marketing and branding. Amanda, it's such a joy to have you here because I know you have an incredible story to share with our listeners.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, you're so welcome. And it would be a wonderful place to start if you can share some of how you got to where you are and your ups and downs along the way.
Crumbs. Okay, so it started very much on a down, really. I wrote a blog a while ago I did a guest blog, and it was, do you have to hit rock bottom to then be able to catapult your success? And I guess one of my big things is you have to feel the pain to then be able to have success, I think. I see a lot of entrepreneurs out there who maybe have started their business from the need to either overcome a problem they're going through, or they see a problem in the world, something like that, where there's something that they want to overcome. And that's where mine started. In 2009, I came out of a horrendous relationship. I was living up in the Lake District at the time. And one day, I've got two kiddies, and one day I just had to pick up my kiddies and leave. Came back down south because I'm from Croydon. I'm a Croydon girl, so we came back down south. We actually went to Wiltshire rather than came back to Surrey. And I was at a stage where I was homeless, so I had to go onto housing benefit. I didn't have anything. When I left with no money, no furniture, nothing at all, and we had to start from scratch. And I was 35 at the time. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to do something with my life. I've got an 8-year-old, I've got a 5-year-old, what are we going to do? So I had to make a decision that a lot of people have to make when they have children, I suppose, is do I go back to the corporate world, which is where I came from. So, I'm not really stuck. I could go back and get a job if I wanted to. I was very fortunate I could do that. Or do I look after my children? We've all been through a horrendous time. All three of us went through a horrendous time. So do I look after my children and find a way to bring in some money and be there for my kiddies? Because we had to heal. We had to do a lot of mending. And I went, right, well, the only option is either to get a local job where I'm earning £7 an hour, and that's not going to put money on the table, really, or start a business. And I went, oh, for heaven's sakes, I'm going to start a business. It's something that had always bubbled inside me. I remember I was quite a hungry corporate employee. I wanted success. So I wanted that inside of me. So when I was given the opportunity to, I suppose, to make that decision about what I wanted to do, I went, I'm going to start a business. So I started a business, and 2009 to 2012, I brought in about £400 a month. It was horrendous. I struggled and struggled and struggled. And then I realized that I needed to think about this and shift my mindset, as we're talking about mindset, shift my mindset and really find a way to have a successful business.
So what happened? How did you do that? And what was the pivotal point that made you decide to make a change?
I think for me, I've always been quite spontaneous. And when all the decisions I've made to get me to that stage where I then had to leave this awful relationship, they'd all been spontaneous decisions. But one thing that made me realize that I needed to change what I was doing with my business was not spontaneity, but actually nearly 4 years of hard graft and no rewards for it. So I need to think about this a little bit deeper. I want to have a great life. I'm nearly hitting 40. I went through that, oh my gosh, I'm getting old stage. I've mucked up my life. That was my second marriage that I walked out on. I had no mortgage. I had no house. I had no security. I had nothing at all. And it's time to change. I had to just go, what do I need to do to have this success? So I stopped looking at me and started looking at everybody around me and said, what are they doing to have a successful business? And it was that kind of, it's now or never. I don't ever want to go back to the corporate world. Now I've escaped and tasted what freedom is like. So I started to hunt around and see who could help me. I started to read about entrepreneurialism. Before that, I just went for it. I wasn't really reading any blogs or doing anything. I was just going through what I knew from my past. But I realized that the key was education and learning from other people.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing, isn't it? Because it's almost modeling what other people are doing because they've made mistakes along the way, which means that we don't have to make the same mistakes and we can get the shortcuts. So what happened then? You went from earning £400 a month, and you've been doing this for 3 years, and then things changed. What happened?
So things changed dramatically, actually. So within 7 months, I went from really struggling financially to that elusive 6 figures. So I really, really did very well. And I didn't do it through Facebook advertising. I really want people to understand that actually to have a successful business, you don't need to just do Facebook advertising, which is what a lot of business coaches are touting at the moment. So what I did is I used LinkedIn. And I used LinkedIn to connect with, the agency that I was running at the time was a social media and copywriting agency. So I sent a message to a guy in Caterham who I'd never met on LinkedIn, saw he was a web designer, and said, would you like to connect? Just wanted to let you know I'm a copywriter. Do your clients need copywriting for their website? He said, yes, they do. Why don't you come up for a meeting? So I went up for a meeting, and the magic didn't necessarily happen. I did start copywriting, but that wasn't a huge amount of money for me. What happened was he introduced me to a book called Key Person of Influence. And Key Person of Influence was something I'd heard of. It was written by a gentleman called Daniel Priestley, who has now written another 3 books on top of that. He's probably, people listening probably have heard of him before. And he said to me, I'm doing the Key Person of Influence program. I would recommend you come along to an event. So I went along to an event. I was still on housing benefit at this time. Remember, I'm still struggling with this. And I went, I need to do this. This guy is speaking my language. I understand that you need to raise your profile. I understand all of this. This is something that I've been trying to do, but I need someone to support me. And actually, it wasn't necessarily what I learned on the program that made the difference. It was about the fact that I surrounded myself with fellow like-minded people that helped me with my mindset, that made me be consistent, that made me realize what I was doing right and what I wasn't doing right. And I invested in this Key Person of Influence program. It cost me over £7,000. And I was like, how do I pay for this? And I just knew that that investment was needed. And, I didn't spend a penny on me during that time. I just spent it on the Key Person of Influence program. And I got the success because I implemented a strategy and it worked.
There you go. So there's a few things I'd love to pick up on. One of them was when you said that you reached out on LinkedIn to someone you didn't know and you connected with them. This is such a key thing, isn't it? It's having the boldness and the courage and not letting our negative thoughts about why would that person be interested in me? Who am I to reach out to that person? And just doing it. And that is such a big part of being a business owner, having that courage and fearlessness.
Yeah, absolutely. And something that I teach, I actually run workshops called the 5 Clients in 30 Days. But the background to that is the 100 No's challenge. And what that is going out and actually looking for 100 people to say no to you, because by the time you've done that, you learn resilience, you get clients, you don't care if they say no, because that's the challenge, is to go out and get those 100 no's. And it can really change your success if you go, I don't care of the outcome, I'm just going to send this message, I'm just going to ask people. And we still use that methodology now for our clients and to grow our business. We've gone on a massive journey with our business. We started as an agency. Then I went very much down into coaching. Lots of people asking me to coach, and that became my full-time job. And recently we've decided to go back to the agency model to pull me out of the business slightly. And to grow the agency model, do you know what we're doing? We're sending messages on LinkedIn saying, would you like to connect? Would you like our services? And it's still the key. It really is. No matter what anyone does, it's about conversations, the number of conversations that you have with people.
And I think in the online world, because so many people who are listening are entrepreneurs and they use the internet to get clients, and it's sending emails to our list, and it's doing webinars and talking to the masses.
Yeah.
But it's a one-way conversation, isn't it? But actually connecting with someone and talking to someone, I didn't know you. I just reached out to you, and I got one of your emails, which would be fantastic. I love the content. And I just thought someone had mentioned that you have an incredible story to share, an incredible success story. And I just reached out to you and said, Amanda, I'd love to interview for my podcast. And you said, yes. And I was thought, fantastic. But this is what it's all about. And I think we need to come round back to conversations, building relationships, one-to-one relationships, rather than just, talking to the masses, unknown faces. And it's not just that game anymore, is it? It's much more personal than that.
Absolutely. And I think that, and now don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of webinars and I'm a big fan of creating a lot of educational content, but that actually supports your marketing. So that supports your connections. What I think is that most people only need 2-4 clients a month. They don't need any more than that. And what they're trying to do is build lists of tens of thousands of people, and they only need a couple of clients a month. So I think that what people should be doing is looking at connecting with these people a lot deeper, and taking these people on what I call a customer journey. And this customer journey is really about giving them the right information at the right time so that they buy from you. And it's about going deeper and having conversations and supplying the right content, and not just throwing mud and hoping it will stick. And if you only need 2 clients a month, why are you trying to get 10,000 people on your list? It's a waste of time, and Facebook advertising encourages you to do that, but you don't need to do it. You can build a very successful business through conversations.
Yes, I completely agree. And all the other stuff, webinars and all of that's fantastic. Have a strong email list, talk to them. But at the end of the day, you do need to actually build those strong relationships. Exactly. So in terms of education and taking that leap of faith, so you really decided that this was something you were going to do to change your mind. How did you get that expansive mindset at that moment, that crucial moment? Because it would be so easy to sabotage and say, well, not this time. I'll wait till I've got a bit more money, wait till I've got a few more clients. How did you take that leap of faith in that moment?
I think that when people are not doing as well as they want to do, and they feel grotty, it kind of manifests all here, doesn't it? It's all here, and you've got that feeling of fear and sick, and it's there the whole time. You're like, how do I get out of this? I need clients, I need to have a successful business, I want, and they live in that I want mode. And that's where I was. I want. And I had all this fear inside me, and even as I'm talking about it now, I can feel it come back. And I had all of this fear inside me, and if you keep on doing what you've always done, you'll keep on getting what you've always got. That's not my quote, that's somebody else's quote, but that's very, very true. And I think that, what's the worst that can happen? The worst thing that will happen is I get myself $7,000 in debt. What's the best that can happen? I can change my life and things can move forward. If you're stuck doing the same thing, you have to have something to break that state. So for me, it was either going to get a job or investing this money to learn, because I'm not going to wake up one day knowing all the answers. It doesn't work like that. So I suppose for me, you couldn't get much worse than where I was. So you just got to go for it. So every single penny I had, every bit of money I earned in the business, I just gave back to Daniel Priestley. It's like, here, take my money, just tell me the answers. And it worked, it did work. Was it what Daniel taught me? Yeah, I would say a lot of it is. Was it about the mindset stuff? Yeah, I would say it is. Was it about my personality? Yeah, I would say it is. Was it about my passion? Yeah. It's not more than just what I learned, but it was just, I use the word gumption. And gumption is closing your eyes going, I'm just going to do it. Once you've done it, you then get confidence, and that confidence then catapults your success. But to start with, you've got to start with gumption. And it's like, I'm just going to do it.
And confidence is a wonderful word. It's used so much in so many different contexts. But as a business owner, it's having the confidence in yourself to say, if I do that leap of faith, then the worst thing that can happen is it can go wrong. But the best thing that can happen, it can work for me. And so there's a real fear of failure and rejection amongst business owners, isn't there? So if I reach out to someone, they ignore me, they say no to me, I'll feel rejected, they don't like me personally, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
What advice can you give to business owners about fear, rejection, fear of failure, and just not letting that stop them and keep them small, getting past that stage?
There is no magic pill. Okay, if you go in expecting someone to say no to you, then it doesn't matter if they do, because that's what you're expecting. If they say yes, that's a pleasant surprise. And I think that a lot of what entrepreneurs, business owners, startup business owners, those who are struggling, their biggest thing is that they don't want to be judged. They don't want someone to go, oh, you're doing this. Oh, I don't like your message. Oh, that's really salesy. You know, you only know the way to grow your business through trial and error. And the more mistakes you make, the more no's you get, actually the more successful you will be. Every single no is one step nearer to having a successful business. Okay, so for me, how to overcome that? You can't. Just accept that people aren't going to like you. They're not going to like your personality. They're going to unfriend you on Facebook. They're going to block you. They're going to talk about you. They're going to say no to you. They're going to send you a horrible message. You're going to get hate mail. The more hate mail you get, it means the more people you're reaching, which probably means that your message is getting there. If you're coming from an authentic place of helping people, that will come across. And some people won't like it. Prime example, I've just seen a new business launch in a Facebook group, and someone who's already doing that business is like, I can't believe they've just launched a business like mine. That happens, okay? That person who's just launched that business is going to be feeling really grotty now because she's complained about it. And the person who's complaining is coming from a place of fear because she's like, oh my gosh, I've got a new competitor. It happens. You just have to accept it. There's no magic pill, I'm afraid. There's no mindset stuff other than take action and overcome your fear.
And how did you personally overcome that fear? What was the conversation in your head? Because when you first thought about reaching out to unknown people on LinkedIn, for example, there must have been some fear around that. What was your mind talk to get you past that?
I've got a process, 3-step process to make
Great.
any decision. Okay. What is the best thing that will happen if I send this message? Okay. What's the worst thing that will happen if I send this message? What's the likeliest thing to happen if I send this message? Okay, so best thing to happen will be that they respond and you get a client. The worst thing is probably they send you a message saying, stop spamming me, leave me alone. What's the likeliest thing? They're going to ignore you. Actually, that's the likeliest thing. So the worst thing is a horrible message back. The best thing is a client, and the probability is that they'll probably ignore you. So every time I take a new action that feels a little bit spammy or might feel a little bit pushy, I go, what's the best thing that will happen? What's the worst thing that will happen? What's the likeliest thing that will happen? Exactly the same. Like, I'm booking next year's holiday at the moment, and I want to spend a fortune on this holiday. And the fear is setting in going, Amanda, you really don't want to be spending that much on a holiday. You're in startup mode with your new business. Do you really want to be doing that? What's the best thing that will happen? The best thing will happen that, I will be able to afford it. What's the worst thing that will happen? I can't afford it, so it's got to go on the credit card. What's the likeliest thing? I'm going to make it work. I know how to run a business. Okay? That's how I make every single decision. And I would recommend anybody out there making their decisions in that way. It means that the world becomes your oyster.
That's really powerful because you can almost take yourself out of it and look at it objectively, because when you think that they're personally rejecting me, that brings all the fear and all the humiliation and devastation into your lives. But no one's personally rejecting you because they don't know you enough to reject you.
No, it's not personal at all. The only time anything is ever personal is if they're like your best friend and they say something, but actually it's never personal about you, it's about them. And what they're saying to you is often a mirror reflection of how they are feeling in that moment. So if someone is nasty to you, it's because they probably have insecurities. It's never about you. They can't control you. They can't tell you what you're feeling. If they're telling you, oh, I feel that that's a ridiculous thing to do, it's not about they think that you're doing a ridiculous thing. It's about they personally feel that that's a ridiculous thing to do. That's about their mindset, not about yours. Does that make sense?
This is exactly the same stuff I teach, is almost, mirror image of what I teach. It makes perfect sense to me. Good. So if someone wants to reach out and take that step, reaching out and connecting on LinkedIn, for example, because that's the example we've been using, what's the best way to do that? Because we can be very salesy in our approach sometimes, and people aren't really going to appreciate that approach. So is there an authentic way of doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. So say, for example, we have a gentleman called Bob Phillips. I don't know a guy, I'll just use him. So I'm Amanda, that's Bob Phillips, and I would like to connect with Bob. He's my ideal client, but I don't want to come across as salesy. So I'll send Bob a message going, hi, Bob. I noticed that we have a lot of things that are in common in the industry. It would be great to connect on LinkedIn. 9 times out of 10, because I've sent that personal note, he'll connect with me. Okay, so then when he's connected, you send another message going, LinkedIn is very businessy. Most people connect and then never build a relationship. Tell me a little bit more about yourself, either your life or your business. I'd love to know. That's it. And that starts a conversation. And again, 9 times out of 10, someone loves talking about themselves. So they're going to send you back a message going, this is what I do. What will be really interesting is if you start analyzing what they're talking about. So if they're talking about personal stuff, then you can see that that's very important to them. If they start talking about business and you're trying to sell to them in a businessy way, you know that that's a pain point for them because they've gone straight in and they live and breathe business. And depending on what they're talking about, that's where the next message comes across. They'll probably ask you a question back. They'll probably say, tell me a bit about you. And then you can start. And that starts a conversation. What I would always do is jump on a call with them. So I'd send back a message going, great to hear a bit more about you. Why don't we jump on a call for 10 minutes? It's really great to build relationships. And then you get on a call and it's about conversations. Does that make sense?
It's as easy as that.
Oh,
There's actually nothing to fear, is there?
There's nothing to fear. And one thing that we do for our clients is because that's quite time consuming, we actually run accounts for our clients doing just that. And because the messages are formulaic, you can actually, do it as I'm going to connect with 20 people today and another 20 and spend half an hour every single day on LinkedIn and grow your business. You don't have to invest in LinkedIn ads. You don't have to invest in Facebook ads. You don't have to spend hours and hours and hours on pay-per-click on Google. But what you do have to do is make sure that when people look at your LinkedIn profile, that you have articles on there, that you do what you say you do, that you have the proof that you are an expert in your industry or that you're a growing expert, because when you start a business, you're not necessarily an expert. And as long as you've got the content to back up who you say you are, they're going to want to jump on a call with you.
I love it. It's simple, it's easy, it doesn't cost a penny, it's just being consistent, it's just doing it and building the relationships. And as you said, you don't need many clients to have a very successful business, is going in deep with particular people and really enjoying it as well. Because the art of building a conversation and building a relationship with people it's the best thing in the world.
It's wonderful. And all that fear that goes on, remember taking you back to the fear where it's all manifesting in your chest and you feel really scary. With every conversation you have, you feel that fear just disappear because actually action overcomes fear. And all of the action and conversations, and at the end of it, you're like, oh my gosh, there's an opportunity and there's an opportunity and they want a proposal and oh my gosh, this is actually happening. And that fear just disappears. And then you get into flow. And you have a lot of people, I bet you speak about flow quite a lot because that's mindset stuff. And when you get into that state of flow, that's when the magic happens. But you have to be free of fear to get into that state of flow.
And the opposite of fear is courage.
Yes.
And this is something we already have inside of us. And we go around thinking we need to find courage from the outside world and people will give us courage. But actually it's already within us and we just don't see it because of all this fear that's lying over the top of it. But actually it's there. And I would imagine most of the most successful business owners have unlimited amounts of courage.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, if you think if any of your listeners are in startup stage and they are starting a business, they've already taken the most difficult step there is. They've had the courage to say, I'm going to start a business. That is the biggest, scariest first step that anyone can take. If they can do that, they can do anything. So what they need to do is go, oh my gosh, I've done the most difficult bit. I'm just going to close my eyes and get a little bit more courage and take some action. Because anyone who starts a business is really courageous. And once they acknowledge how amazing they are, then they can then take the rest of the steps.
Yes, I think that's wonderful. And also don't overthink it. Don't spend hours and days thinking about it, analyzing it, trying to figure it out. Sometimes listen to your gut. If it feels like a great opportunity, then just go for it. And
Absolutely.
magic can happen from there. That's inspired action, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So what's the number one tip you can share with our listeners about mindset, about how to, grow their mindset and, feel that courage and that bravery? How can they do that?
I think it comes, I'm sure you've heard of the saying, you're the sum of the 5 people you surround yourself with. The first thing that I did when I needed to work on my mindset was visit YouTube. Start watching videos, start listening to audios that will enable you to start transforming your mindset. So even now, I still come up with fear because when you grow a business, your problems just they stay the same, but they get bigger or they change or whatever. So you still have that fear. So whenever I'm feeling a little bit grotty, I'll pick up my phone, I'll go onto YouTube and go, I feel like this. I need to listen to an audio to help me overcome it or a video to help me overcome it. I'll listen to it for 15 minutes while I'm making the dinner for the children. And at the end of it, it's like, I feel awesome. It's great. It's about conditioning your mind to actually switch where it's from to the positive. So another game I also play with the children is you're not allowed to say anything negative all day. And you play that game and that enables your mindset to change. But the only way you can change it is by educating your mind to think differently. And the best way to do that is through YouTube or mindset courses or getting yourself a mindset coach. I'm not a mindset coach. That's not something I help with. I'm very much along the mind of just bloody well do it. That's kind of where I come from. So I'm not great with mindset, but my advice is listen to YouTube, listen to audios. That's how I do it.
Fantastic. And that's always available, readily available.
Exactly. Start there.
And how can our listeners find out more about you and your work?
Okay, so the best place to go is LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. Please connect with me on LinkedIn, Amanda C. Watts. If you put the C in, it's easy to find me on LinkedIn. I have a website, amandacwatts.com, which lists both of my businesses. So I've got 2 businesses. I've got 22, which is a business which is dedicated to help accountants and service professionals. It's done for you. And then I've got the Freedompreneur Business Academy. And the Freedompreneur Business Academy is where we run a program called 90 Days to Freedom, where we teach them how to grow a successful business up to 6 figures. And that's an online program. But the best place to go is amandacwatts.com.
Fantastic. That's brilliant. And I'm sure a lot of people will take advantage of that information. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been such a great pleasure to spend this time with you. And thank you for sharing all your best information about mindset and really how to get onto LinkedIn and start connecting with people, because I think it's a wonderful way of building great relationships. So everyone who's been listening, thank you so much for joining us today and look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Entrepreneurs in a Game podcast with Nina Cook. If you like what you just heard, Nina's created a free 3-part video training on the 3 steps to smashing through your income glass ceiling, which shows you how to create a winning inner game so you can grow your business for more money and time freedom. Go to ninacook.co.uk and get your free video training. And join me next time for another edition of Entrepreneurs in a Game podcast.